there's all this effort to have patients put skin in the game, and they're definitely putting skin in the game now, to the point where the patients that we serve are choosing between their medication and literally groceries and their car and utilities. So when I say that that is the consumer in this marketplace, what I mean by that is these are people that are making tragic trade-offs in their financial situations to afford their care. And they are the person to whom the ultimate benefit of the service is supposed to accrue. So all the other stakeholders in the system, while they are consumers in a different way, they are benefiting in monetary ways that the patient is not. Ultimately, it is the service to the patient that's supposed to receive health benefits from that service. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's important for patients to have a financial stake in that arena, but I also think it opens the door to a more prominent place in that stakeholder table of determining what is value and how is that value going to be realized for me as the individual patient, especially low-income patients who are literally, like I said, making trade-offs between their financial health, their personal health, and their physical health. So I do think, to Mike, your point though, it really speaks to having everybody come together. This idea of sort of divide and conquer and point the finger at each other, or saying it's one group's cost over another group's cost. I really think that is what we need to get away from and bring everybody together, but together around the notion of the patient and trying to bring benefit to that individual patient. So back to the point about variance, I do think variance can be confusing for patients and difficult to manage, but oftentimes variance can also be important if it speaks to variance in subpopulations and really gets to that, what is unique about me, to which there might be specific treatment options that really better realize my preferences. So there may be a product that may not get me, may not have as much likelihood of increased survival, but may have a lower side effect profile. And I may want to trade off between between those two variables. So giving patients that opportunity in a shared decision-making environment to sort of express, what am I really focused on? Am I concerned about neuropathy? Am I concerned about getting to my daughter's wedding? Am I concerned about maintaining, not having nausea? I mean, what are my goals? And then what are the options available to me amongst that variance that really speak to what I want to try to get out of care? And it's not that the patient needs to become a doctor to make those decisions. It needs to be a shared decision-making environment.
Yeah, but I think you said something important about variance that I should have said when I was trying to answer Bruce's question, which is the actual learnings are several standard deviations away on the bell curve in both directions. So when I was talking about brand drugs that work their way into a therapeutic category that already have drugs, we don't share data very well. And if we did, we would find out, is there a benefit in that product for those people who actually do really well, not expected to, or those who do not well at all? If we were better at sharing the data, that would move us along the innovation cycle much more quickly. For some areas, we're just not there yet. Yeah. So by looking at the margins and sharing the data, we can get deep insights. And so, it's really hard to create breakthrough after breakthrough. Sometimes the breakthroughs are there on things that don't look so great if you can look deeper.
Yeah, I fully agree. I'd say the day we launch a product or bring a product to market based on the regulatory system is probably the day we know the least about how it's going to benefit patients. It's everything from thereafter as we do some of the post-market surveillance, as we capture real-world evidence around the impact and what subsequent indications for that product or service in that case may ultimately bring to a patient or group of patients. It's important to say maybe that's not the right day to call the question on value.
Yeah, but let's be fair, that's because of the way drugs are priced these days. I mean, that's just reality, right? So you can't have it both ways, right? You can't say, well, we don't really know how good this is until we have it around for a while. And I don't disagree with that. But then price it at a premium that makes it impossible to allow that real world evidence to be accumulated because you're placing yourself in a highly regulated and restricted universe. So, sure. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
I think that's where it does become important for patients to know the reality of what is known and what is unknown, and what are the costs and benefits of the options before them. And they may make different choices based on their own financial situation, their goal, like I said before. But I think giving that information to patients in a way that they can understand and digest is what I was referencing before. and it's not monolithic how patients think about value. And I think given a range of options and knowing what the trade-offs and what the financial risks are going to be for different choices, I think you'd be surprised the types of things, you know, and that's really what, in my mind at least, and from the patients we serve, I think that's what how they would like to have their role be in this process, to know, be honest about what the options are, what's the uncertainty, what's the risk, what's the benefits, what does that mean to me and my family, and, you know, make a choice. And because they're the ones that are going to live with it. They're, you know, they have this hope. And we don't want that hope to be a false promise, but we also don't want it to be go broke or go die either. So somewhere in between those two things is, you know, giving patients information in a way that allows them to create knowledge, but at a level that they're comfortable with. Some patients just want to be told, what should I do? What is the best option from your point of view with your expertise? And I think but others, and we're seeing this increasingly, want to know. And they're out there getting the information off the internet and everything else, and they're coming to the doctor's office with this mountain of stuff, and they already have in their head what they think they want. It might not be the best choice, or they might not know all the options, but then that's the conversation, right? And I think that's part of the challenge is that conversation is not reimbursed very well. That time it really takes to engage with the patient in that shared decision-making realm and have that gold concordant care conversation is one of many things that are important to patients, but is not heavily reimbursed to the extent that it matches the value of patients, which is just one little example of if we started aligning what's reimbursed with what actually matters and what's valuable to patients, I think you'll start to see things that really services that should be offered that mean something to patient that really aren't valued in the system appropriately right now.